Hi, everybody. It is 11/12/24. November 12th, 24. Oh boy, explosions, cars busting through homes, wildfires, and more flooding from Spain, another area. And I maybe should put this over here so you can actually hear me. Oh, yeah. Life is just grand. So, hi, Alicia and Angelos and Geofactor 3. You don't like your job. I'm so sorry. Yeah, well, I don't think anybody likes their jobs anymore. Stack Stevenson, hello. Andrew Cruz, Julio, hi. Um, Angelos, Analog Synth Player, Rage Against the Machine, Jay Northrup, Barb in Ohio, hello. And Space Indian, Bluesman, Sunny Fournier, hi. Julie, and Bronwyn, Pinette, hello. Silent Walk and Awakened Sleeper, hi. Hi. My hand is kind of pink to your hand. Kim Blanchard, hello. All right, quick. Radar. Well, let me include you. Look at those frequencies in Montana. That happens quite a bit. Right here, Montana. Gotta wonder what they're doing. What are they doing? And look at this growing blob of precipitation for Washington State. And it does look like they're holding it right along the coast. Right along the coast. So, as you can see, we don't have any severe weather alerts, which is a good thing, but check out this forecast. I'm telling you, I am not understanding how it is that people are actually forecasting weather. You know, Raphael, I showed you with this forecast model, pretty much got extinguished in the Gulf. And then, like 2 days later, Raphael appeared again. But it ain't doing much. Okay. In fact, let me show you the capture that I took earlier. Which, yeah, I took it because I'm like, what is going on here? Kind of hard to figure out. So, this is it. Is this Raphael? Look how nicely defined is that circular pattern right up here. Wow, look at the air masses going in different directions. So this was satellite. And when you see radar, it's like, okay, did they extinguish Raphael twice? Well, now apparently we have another hurricane coming. Well, and I'm happy about that. Don't get me wrong. I'd like to see all of this severe weather extinguished for sure. But I'm going to show you the forecast, which, all right, so this starts midnight on the 13th. Okay. And every click is 6 hours, so 6 a.m. Got some precipitation here in the mid. Sorry, I'm hearing some biofeedback. You've got some severe weather here for you, Washington, which comes about midnight tonight, 6 a.m. Seems to get more severe, but right along the coast where they're holding this weather front, not letting it go further east, as you can see. Okay, so then you got the severe weather down the very southwest corner of Oregon and the northwest corner of California. Severe weather begins to break out on the 14th, midnight, but doesn't look so severe. We've got Tennessee, we've got Alabama and Mississippi right there in the corner of, right on the border of both states. And heavy precipitation going on into Kentucky. So then it's going to change to snow for you guys in Washington on the 14th at noon. The snow, you're going to have lots of rain and then snow, making your travel conditions not so sweet. 6 p.m. on the 14th. Now the 15th, you're going to see another hurricane coming. Some light snow for Idaho and Nevada. But look at this. This, well, quite a lot of, yeah, Texas. Right there, Panhandle. Check out Texas Weather Modification Association, and you will check out where they do the weather modification. And a lot of it is right in this Panhandle area. You get a lot of precipitation in Arizona and New Mexico, but the heavier precipitation comes on the 18th at 6 a.m. And yeah, hangs about, gets more severe. Where is it going? It's going through the northwest corner of Texas, Panhandle of Oklahoma, right on into Kansas. The 18th at noon. At 6 a.m., you have severe weather still in the Panhandle of Oklahoma, through Kansas into Nebraska. Might not be that bad, but I do say that you need to bookmark the radar and forecast models. All right, so then you got that shape of a hurricane starting right there. But here we go. The 19th, 6 a.m., the hurricane is coming on up. The 19th at noon. The 19th at 6 p.m. That is not looking good. Looks like a pretty strong hurricane coming. Where? You got it. Florida. Look at this. Look at this round blob of snow and rain right on up here in South Dakota, North Dakota, and the northwest corner of Minnesota, and right on into Canada. Wow, that's a nice circular patch of moisture. But here, midnight, November 20, the hurricane is coming on into the Gulf. Oh, there you got a stretch of severe weather. November 20 at 6 a.m. This is through Texas and Arkansas, Missouri, right on into Illinois. That's a long stretch. It is all manufactured. So the hurricane is coming in. It's on the 20th at 6 a.m. And Oh, looky here. The forecast model has changed from even this morning because it was hitting central Florida, the Naples area, earlier today, but now it looks like it's traveling a little bit further north before it makes landfall. This is November 20 at noontime. And there we go. Inland, 6 p.m., November 20. Another hurricane for you. On the 20th. What is the 20th? 20th is next Wednesday, not tomorrow. 8 days. You got 8 days, guys, in Florida. Not happy about this. So I will put the link in to our radar site, the link into the forecast, and you bookmark them and you check them out. You should check them out several times a day because these forecasts and those supercells igniting, well, now you do have to check things out pretty regularly to find out what is going on. And maybe it will fizzle out. Who knows? That Hurricane Raphael sure did. Yeah. All right. So here we go. An explosion in Kentucky, Louisville. Yeah. It was some plant. I saw somebody leave a comment that it was a food plant. I didn't know it was a food plant, but yeah, another explosion. Oh, and then there was an explosion in New York City. Oh, okay. Let's do Kentucky first.
And that breaking news, nearly a dozen people rushed to the hospital after just a massive explosion at a food dye plant down in Louisville. Thanks a lot for joining us here at 5 o'clock. I'm Mike Dardis.
Good evening to you. I'm
a food dye plant. Okay.
Cherie Palello. Firefighters had to rescue, we know, one person who was trapped inside this building. And look at the images here. You can see just a massive area here where firefighters and emergency workers are there on the scene. Fire officials cannot release the conditions of the 11 people who were hurt. We've just been listening in to a news conference. They do tell us that they don't have any reports of anyone being killed. Again, this is a live look at the scene right now. The city had evacuated neighbors within a 2-block radius, and they're telling people who are not home to stay away. Officials telling others within a mile of this explosion to shelter in place over concerns of an ammonia leak. But they also say that many people closer to that blast can't seal off their homes because the explosion, imagine this, busted out their windows. Firefighters say that they are using a new gas detecting tool, which has shown that the air there is safe right now. The cause of the explosion is still under investigation. Of course, we've got
This is what we are living now. If you live close to a plant, to a recycling center, don't be surprised if it explodes and there's a fire and you have all these toxic fumes and the fire department and the police come around and, start screaming, shelter in place, shelter in place. They had a mile shelter in place. I don't know if it is continuing, but this one woman was interviewed in another broadcast and she couldn't get into her home. They wouldn't allow her into the home. 11 people injured. New York City. Transformer fire in the Bronx. It can't just be a coincidence that all of this is taking place. Don't you think that maybe those bad apples might be at work here? It's really, though, electromagnetic frequencies could set all of this off. But this is causing major problems for commuters who want to go home.
The transformer fire bringing Amtrak to a halt. Dave.
They are having to scramble, Maurice, and there are long lines here as people try to figure their way around delays and cancellations. Take a look at some of these people in line to talk to ticket agents. We have other people lining up around customer service reps because Amtrak from New York to New Haven, that service is canceled from here. So that is making life difficult for these travelers, including Pam Griffin, who is here in New York City. It was supposed to be just for the day, and now she's trying to get back to her home in the town of Framingham, Massachusetts. Now, she has been told that she needs to get from here to Grand Central Terminal and then take Metro North to New Haven, and from there she could catch trains up to the Boston area.
We're trying to get to Boston, but they're on the schedule for New Haven that says they can get. So it's like you have to get around and get to New Haven, and trains are leaving from there.
So you're going to go to Grand Central to get around this?
Yes, and then get to New Haven. Okay. And then get on a 901 and get to Boston by 11:30 tonight.
That is a long night.
It is, since it started at 6:30 this morning. We were only here for the day.
Amtrak tickets are being cross-honored by Metro North. Live in the Moynihan train station at Penn Station, Dave Carlin, CBS News, New York.
And if you're not a New Yorker, you might not know that when the trains stop, especially on a workday, I'm surprised. I don't know what time this broadcast was. So Penn Station used to be so crowded that I'm kind of surprised that I'm only seeing a few people in. So it might be earlier in the afternoon. I don't know. But it is such a headache. I feel bad for these people. So here, major fire, major explosion, another explosion. I think a lot of this is just going to become more frequent. Lots of toxic smoke into the air. Then you have the wildfires that they still ongoing. Look at this.
It is the, I thought they said the train. No, it's that. No, it is Con Ed. It's that transformer. The transformer.
Oh, the transformer blow. The transformer. This is dangerous. It's not good.
Okay, so let's take these off. And yeah. All right, so the people closest to these fires have been put on alert that they may have to evacuate pronto. New York, New Jersey.
73-year-old Doug Berrien isn't in panic mode just yet, but admits he's certainly been on heightened alert.
Doesn't take anything to start a fire.
All thanks to what's happening in the woods only 100 yards or so from the home he and his wife have owned for the last 50 years, overlooking Greenwood Lake in Hewitt, New Jersey.
There was a burning inferno. I never saw anything like that in my life.
Just outside Doug's windows, tactical helicopters scoop up water in the ongoing effort to extinguish the massive Jennings Creek fire on the east side of Greenwood Lake. its flames straddling the New York-New Jersey border.
I spoke to my father today on the phone, and he's like, "You think you live in California right now?"
Brenda lives across the street. Her home dangerously closer to the smoke and flames. Are you worried about your home?
A little bit. We've been a little panicked, didn't know when to pack up or not.
Officials in New York and New Jersey providing updates Tuesday on this 5,000-acre fire, which they say is only 20% contained. The wind-driven threat here at the Jennings Creek fire, more flames spreading from New York to the southeast in New Jersey.
Wow, and I can't stand. It's very dry. That's what she says. It's very dry. All right, so you did see that. The very beginning looked like a plasma fire to me, coming from the ground. There is that smoke coming from the ground.
Just yet, but admits he's certainly been on heightened alert.
So when I was coming down the mountain in Montana, there were several places that I saw what looked like this. No one was, doing any controlled burns or, and I thought, okay, that's what I'm looking at is very weird. There was one very big pocket of just smoke coming from the ground. And then I bumped into Jeff Snyder too, who actually posted a video in Montana of smoke coming from the ground. Check out Jeff Snyder too. Massachusetts sees a 1,200% spike in wildfires. Okay. Yeah. We're not used to, what we got was nor'easters, massive snowfalls, flooding, thunderstorms, not wildfires. Now it seems it's all the rage.
Massachusetts now weeks into battling what's being called an unprecedented fire event. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kim Kalunian.
I'm Mike Montecalvo. Governor Maura Healey saying that the amount of fires that the state saw in October was 1,200% higher than what's typical. And the abnormally high volume of fires is continuing into November.
Our Jake Coulter joins us live in studio with more. Jake?
Yeah, Kim and Mike, the chief fire warden for the Department of Conservation and Recreation says the average amount of fires in October over the last 6 years is 15. This year, he says there were 212.
No fire pits, no charcoal grilling, no burning leaves, nothing that can send sparks right now.
Governor Maura Healey imploring the public not to burn anything outdoors as the state battles hundreds of brush fires. Chief Fire Warden Dave Salino says there have been more than 260 fires in November, all human-caused.
There's been no lightning systems in the area in October and November, and that's the natural cause of wildland fires. And so we know
that these fires are caused by somebody stupid who started this fire. That's your investigation. That's the result of your investigation. Okay. Doesn't look very wild. Looks like a whole line. Just a line.
Warden Dave Salino says there have been more than 260 fires in November, all human-caused.
There's been...
Okay, so I'll get Jeff Snyder 2's link for you. Okay. Okay. It's in the chat. Check them out. Raining mud. Oh, yes. Rare weather for California.
Emily and Eric, city crews and law enforcement playing catch up tonight for cleaning trees, cleaning debris, and even redirecting traffic after a strong yet quick storm rolled through town.
Nature creating a surreal scene across much of the Central Valley. This is downtown Fresno as a massive dust storm barreled through town. Damage being reported all throughout the Central Valley, including the Paradise apartment complex. Here you can see fallen trees that damaged a parking cover with cars underneath and people running away.
We're actually seeing limited visibilities and high winds due to a pretty powerful dust storm that just came through. We're seeing visibilities but less than 100 feet in some places, less than 500 feet in other places.
A trail of damage left in its path. This tree falling on the southbound lanes of North Marks Avenue in West Fresno at 2 in the afternoon. A mix of rain and high winds creating dangerous driving conditions. Police redirecting traffic as city crews are expected to clear the road by the morning. In the meantime, a massive tree sits on a major Fresno roadway.
We're seeing the rain come in behind it as well. It seems to be a very powerful cold front that was pushing up this dust, and behind it was the rain. And we actually got it here at the office, where just as the dust came through, the rain came in right behind it.
In Hanford, celebrations for Veterans Day taking a hit. Remington Senior Living had to bring its Veterans Day program inside.
All our veterans would be outside, and the motorcycle group that came out.
All right, so yeah, a rare storm that kind of came out of nowhere and caused quite a bit of damage. Do you have dust storms in California? Okay, Spain, Almeria, Spain, another hit to Spain.
24.
Mira, ya sacó mi BMW. Madre mía, la que se está. Se lo subía. Mira esto. Es que no sé bestial, tío, lo que va para la negra, ¿eh?
Besides that, El Ejido, Ficur, Roquetas de Mar also have been the municipalities most affected.
I will put the link in. Yeah, this weather terrorism has truly accelerated. And for those who get hit over and over, it's very hard. I posted this on Never Lose Truth. I don't know how many of you have seen it, but I'm going to play a few minutes of it. If you haven't seen it, I do hope that you click on the link and watch it. It's only 6.5 minutes. But yeah, we are not getting, well, mainstream media seems to be off, Western North Carolina. I did see a comment from somebody, how come nobody is posting on Eastern Tennessee? I posted a few videos, but if you see videos, then please post the link. Don't just ask why somebody's not posting on something. If you know that things are happening, don't expect that one person to go off looking for it. Okay, please post the links and help people out who post.
Pastored our church, David, he lost his wife, but his wife's brother and his father, who was an invalid, they actually lived right down here in a trailer where the river totally washed and swept them away. They were stuck in their house for 7.5 hours while he held his invalid father up in chest-deep water until they were finally rescued. And it's sad to see them when they come in, because when they do come in, it's like they're kind of just blank. And I think that there needs to be more, maybe psychological, help for people that's dealing with everything that's happened. Yeah, for 4 or 5 days, I was trying to run up here and check on Richard, one of our church members, um, to make sure he was all right. And I kept driving by this one area that I found out like 4 or 5 days later that they found, when the dive team had actually come in, and they found a van with a mother and 4 little children, up underneath the water. And so, it makes everybody realize that, if you've got your life and you've got your family, everything here on earth is temporary. So, stuff can be replaced, but human life can't. And there was a lot of people that lost their lives and their loved ones. So
I've heard reports that thousands are missing. Is that true, do you think?
I think it is. I definitely think it's true. The numbers are not correct, because there's been too many people I've got several military guys that I know that was going around with Savage and looking for, bodies. And, they were already they said that just in one area was anywhere from 20 to 600 bodies in just one area. So look how many areas it's hit. So it's devastating, actually.
Then why do you think the media isn't covering this? We're not seeing this out there.
I would say it's just like part of how life's been going. Media only puts out there what they want us to know. They don't want the truth. They don't deal with truth anymore. And I mean, the truth needs to be, known by everybody, everywhere, because they've not, our government at the time has not, done some of the things that they should have done. A lot of the supplies that we would send in certain areas, FEMA and the National Guard would actually stop the supplies and turn them away. And then we would have to bring them here, and then we would send them back out to be able to get them through. So I was just saying.
I'll post the link again. He goes on, and it is just horrifying. It is so heartbreaking when you realize, what these people have been through. Think about how many people are dealing with the loss of loved ones, the loss of their home, loss of their cars, loss of their, community in terms of, the businesses that were out there. It's a wow. It's a wow. And yeah, kudos to Brian on the disturbing illusion. I will post the link to this interview. Now, Brian's in Oklahoma. He obviously drove out to North Carolina. And what he says in the very beginning is absolutely true. And we can't forget all of these people, but event after event after event, it is hard to keep up with everything. So North Carolina, I will say and admit, that has gotten my attention more than Florida, than Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia, but all of these events, I mean, it's for sure North Carolina, Western North Carolina, the devastation there and the scale of the devastation is far more than all of the other states. But I'm sure people, and I've seen it before years ago, when I would be posting, on, well, I remember it particularly with the tornado that hit, I think, 2 years ago, taking out the town, and I can't remember where it was, Mayfield, Kentucky. And all of the focus was on Mayfield, leaving people to believe that that was the only place that got destroyed. No, the tornado came up taking out an awful lot of towns around Mayfield. And one person I remember hearing saying that she was, pissed because it wasn't just Mayfield, and she was walking around her streets with all of these homes gone. You can guarantee where we have one weather event, mainstream media in particular will focus on the city or the worst destroyed. No, their focus is like a week. That's it. So when you see that happening in the future, think about, okay, well, where else? Where else? All of the communities surrounding, the town, the city, because these weather events, the scale of destruction is quite intense. Maybe that's what mainstream media doesn't want people to know, but it is.
There's a tendency within all of us to think that when someone is hit with a major devastation like North Carolina and other areas who were hit by Hurricane Helene from September 24th through the 26th, that the initial aid and outpouring of support got pretty much everybody out of a jam and things are back to normal. It kind of becomes an out of sight, out of mind situation. Meanwhile, long after residents in this North Carolina town had their lives literally washed away with Helene's floodwaters, there are still scores of people without power, without fresh water, and they're looking at the prospect of a cold winter with no end to their troubles in sight. These are the people of Bat Cave, Chimney Rock, and Lake Lure, North Carolina, and they still need our help. This is the story of two of them, Anthony and Morgan. Okay, here we are in Chimney Rock, and obviously there's some major devastation. The reason we're doing this video is because, we all tend to get mentally lazy and we start thinking, hey, the devastation was 2 weeks ago, they must be okay. But we're out here talking to some locals. Now, you live here, right?
Yes, we do. We live right down the road.
And what is your name?
Morgan.
Morgan?
Yes.
So tell me about how the last 2 or 3 weeks has been with the people coming in, trying to do the rescue and everything. Kind of take us from there and let us know what's going on right now, and then we'll get to the needs later.
Yeah. So the first week, obviously we had a bunch of rescue teams out here and everybody was doing their best to clear all these houses, to make sure everybody was out safely. We were making sure to medevac everybody out who needed to be out first.
How many people had to be medevac? Do you know?
I want to say, I don't know, maybe something like that. Maybe about 300 people were medevaced out.
Right.
Mostly elderly people and people who need medications and stuff like that as well. So we were really focused on that. We were getting tons of donations, figuring out what to do with those, who needs it, where to distribute everything, and just mainly getting the roads clear and stuff like that as well. So that was pretty much the first week. The second week was more so clearing roads, mucking out houses, stuff like that, making sure everybody was still set up, everything they needed. And then
now, how many people are still living? Is this technically called Bat Cave? That's the Bat Cave post office.
Yes.
But Chimney Rock is like another 3 miles up the street. Okay.
Yes.
So how many people in Chimney Rock and Bat Cave are still living here after the destruction?
I want to say about 100 to maybe 150 people are still here. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, where are they getting all their supplies?
A lot of people are getting from the Bat Cave Fire Department. We have the Girton Fire Department as well that has been tremendous in making sure everybody has their supplies.
And you work with the fire department, right?
Yeah, we both do.
Yeah,
you both do. Okay.
Yeah.
And you happen to live here.
Yes.
But you don't.
We're getting married.
Okay. Well, congratulations. I did not know that.
Thank
okay.
you. Thank you.
Awesome. Any date? Is there a date yet?
We'll be getting married 11/11 of next year.
Okay,
So
11/11. Perfect.
Yep.
This is news to me. So awesome. Congratulations.
Yes,
so there's
thank you.
135 people that live here. They get the majority of their stuff from up the road up here.
Yes.
And that direction is what?
That'll be going towards Bat Cave. So it's the Bat Cave Fire Department that way.
Okay.
And then you have Girton. And then on the way to Girton is Middle Fork Road. We have a ton of people on Middle Fork still. And the Middle Fork Baptist Church has been taking care of a majority of them up there. So we probably have about 50 to 80 people up on Middle Fork still. I think that's where a majority of our community is.
Okay.
Up there.
And is a large percentage of the help coming from locals or from people outside the area?
Now, the first few weeks was just locals.
Okay.
And people coming in, helicopters were just locals. Like, I think we maybe had a few military ones land, but a majority of our help in clearing the roads, mucking out houses has been solely local people.
Now, one of the other reasons I'm here is because there's a lot of rumors online saying that the media saying 240 bodies. A lot of people are saying, no, we ordered 10,000 body bags. What are you hearing as far as the amount of people that have yet to be recovered?
So we've heard numbers like that as well. We've heard the 200 and stuff. I know down here, I don't think we have a big count at all. I think maybe they found maybe 2 bodies down in Lake Lore. And then the rumors about smells and stuff like that, we haven't.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. Not in Bat Cave, not in Chimney Rock.
We haven't recovered one body that I know of in that cave yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
it's been a lot of just getting to the houses and getting
clearing
the people that are alive out. That's all there is.
See, it's really important that we dispel these rumors because, you know, I call it the fake news, the fake stream news network, you know, corporate media, you can't trust them. But then, you know, you can't automatically trust internet either because, you know, there's a lot of people that are trying to just get clicks.
Exactly.
So,
this is where I have to just say, well, I agree that there's an awful lot of people who, like to get views, their numbers up or whatever. But this, and is it a rumor that there's a lot of people dead? Is it a rumor that people have said they can smell, you know, decomposing bodies? We can't say it's a rumor just because they didn't have that experience in where they're working doesn't mean that other people in other areas, because this whole strip, I mean, I don't know how many miles, but there's a lot of miles. So it almost, you know, sounds like, well, all of the other people who are talking about the amount of people who have died are lying. No. So, but I will post the link. Obviously, these people still need help. And, you know, people still need help in an awful lot of areas. That's the problem. Because initially, you know, when these events occur, you get an awful lot of help, you know, for a week or two, but then things start to die down. The whole Western North Carolina, the locals are still at it, helping one another, but they're there and they know there's great need. We have to figure out a way to just keep going, keep helping, because it's what people need. And unfortunately, you know, what happens is that when these people, when you experience losing everything, it's very hard to recover. And, you know, you might get some help, but it's never enough to kind of set you right. And I'm not saying set you right completely, you know, like nothing ever happened, but some needs get met with the donations that come in, but an awful lot of needs don't get met. So here they are talking about winter in the mountains. It's going to be very, very cold, of course. You know, Brian has linked to the GoFundMes. Morgan and Anthony, they lost their jobs. So, but there are needs for the buddy heaters and warm winter clothing. So I'm going to post the link again. You can listen, and right in the description are the GoFundMes. And listening to these two, you get a good feel for them, that they're not scamming anyone. Unfortunately, there's very little trust left. And that so upsets me, because when people are in need, trust is essential. So, yeah. Campfire survivor. A what? Campfire? Paradise? Yeah. Okay. Campfire survivor now lost her home, her parents' home, in these new fires in Ventura County in California.
I felt like I was finally okay since last fire.
And touched by tragedy twice, a woman loses her home here after seeing another burn in the devastating Paradise Fire. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Juan Fernandez.
And I'm Amy Johnson. The mountain fire in Ventura County is now 36% contained, and firefighters are making good progress surrounding it. And as we learn more stories of loss and survival.
One of them, a woman who survived the campfire in Northern California back in 2018, only to see her home burn to the ground. As KCAL News reporter Jasmine Veal shows us, she is still determined to move forward.
My room is right here. You can actually see my bookcase.
There wasn't anything left to salvage in her parents' home on Old Coach Drive that Charlotte Edwards had just moved into a year ago.
Yeah, I felt like I was finally okay since last fire. I was like, okay, I finally got, settled back in. I'm finally back home with my family.
Unbelievably, Edwards has been through this nightmare before. 6 years ago, the day before her birthday, on November 8th, the deadly and destructive campfire destroyed her home and wiped out the Northern California town of Paradise as she ran from the flames.
The second we got in the car was a one-way out of that place. So we were stuck in traffic for bumper to bumper for like an hour, watching as the sky just got blacker and blacker.
Then last week, the day before her birthday again, the mountain fire came raging through her Camarillo neighborhood.
Yeah, so I've been through this before, and I just looked at everything that I had, and I was like, this is all a replacement from the last fire.
She left with her parents with only the clothes on her back and her 3 cats.
All of a sudden, Charlotte jumps up and says, I've been through this before, I'm packing up now. And 2 minutes after that, the smoke started coming through.
Like so many had to do, her stepdad, Charlie Odell, says they left with very little.
It breaks my heart for her. She's a very resilient, strong kid, but when you face this kind of devastation, you wonder, you just wonder, why me?
But Edwards says she is grateful that they are together and they're all okay. Even after experiencing all of this loss from both of these devastating wildfires, Charlotte says she does want her family to come back here and rebuild. That Ventura County is her home. They do have fire insurance, so they say they hope to be living here again in the next 2 years.
And they can't guarantee it. That's the reality of what we are living today. They have fire insurance. Even those who have insurance end up fighting the insurance companies. And insurance companies have denied people with insurance based on these bullshit reasons. So, twice. That's when you see family is it's so important for the support of one another, getting through these kinds of traumatizing events. Yeah, having a strong, close family gets you through. Now, just going to play a few minutes of this, and I will post the link. This is the woman who got fired from FEMA, who a whole lot of people were saying that she was the one telling people to not help those with Trump signs in their yards in Florida. Well, it wasn't Florida only, North Carolina. And she says that she's the scapegoat. And yeah, we always need a scapegoat, right? Just a few minutes.
I was notified after I demobbed. The next morning, they told me verbally I was fired, but they never provided me anything in writing stating that I was fired. They all alleged that these actions were made on my own recognizances and that it was for my own political advances. However, if you look at the record, there is what we call a community trend. And unfortunately, it just so happened that the political hostility that was encountered by my team, and I was on 2 different teams during this deployment, they just so happened to have the Trump campaign signage. FEMA always preaches avoidance first and then de-escalation. So this is not isolated. This is a colossal event of avoidance, not just in the state of Florida, but you will find avoidance in the Carolinas. Senior leadership will lie to you and tell you that they do not know. But if you ask the DSA crew leads and specialists what they are experiencing in the field, they will tell you. Demand for FEMA to give you those incident reports. They will substantiate what is happening to us in the field.
Yeah. Okay. So, and when she's talking about avoidance and then de-escalation, I was like, avoidance. And I think she means that you can listen to the whole interview, but avoid the Trump supporters. And if you get into anything with the Trump supporters, that you're to de-escalate. But it wasn't just her. She's the one who's getting thrown under the bus. And we'll listen to what this man has to say.
Well, to say that I was surprised would be a lie. I don't necessarily want to demean or demonize every FEMA employee or worker that's out there. I think there are a lot of them that have a good heart that want to help people. The question that it leads me to is to ask the question of what sort of culture has been established in order for, FEMA personnel on the ground, or leadership for that matter, to provide this sort of instruction to FEMA personnel that want to provide help. And more so, I had an interaction with local FEMA officials as well, and they wanted to help people. And what was the interesting thing is it was stated that, hey, we can't have our fingerprints on this, which I think it leads back to the actual question, which is, what sort of culture and what sort of fear is there in place at some of the lower levels of FEMA personnel, where they're afraid they're going to lose their job if they don't speak up against actions that are blatantly not aligned with what the organization is supposed to be doing?
How did we get here? What is this political culture that has literally like a poisoned worm squirming its way through every federal agency? Can we ever heal? I don't think so, actually, because that requires individuals to actually do a little bit of self-examination and heal themselves, because anybody who is participating in this kind of discrimination, Trump supporters, they don't get any help. Anybody participating in that, anybody involved in that, anybody who is smiling that that's going on, clearly has issues that need to be resolved. That's the way we heal. But so, COP29, another climate change annual meeting where they all fly in with their private jets to some, whatever country. This time it's Azerbaijan, but whatever country, doesn't matter. It's, wow, a very exclusive resort type for all of these people who lie through their teeth, but they have a great time during this conference. So here, Antonio Guterres, the head of the United Nations, here he is talking about how, oh my God, we have to pay up or face climate disaster. This will never stop. The liars will never stop. But he does say something quite true. No one can stop the greening of the world. Green energy, not governments, not anyone. And if you look into the green energy, whether it's electric vehicles, wind turbines, solar, it actually has a more destructive impact on the environment than those fossil fuels.
Around you here is the ticking clock. We are in the final countdown to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius. And time is not on our side. So doubling down on fossil fuels is absurd. The clean energy revolution is here. No group, no business, and no government can stop it. But you can and must ensure it is fair and fast enough to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius. COP29 must tear down the walls of climate finance. Developing countries must not leave Baku empty-handed. A deal is a must, and I'm confident it will be reached. We need a new finance goal that meets the moment.
A new finance goal. Now, who pays? The people, via taxes. Oh, and yeah, during the COP29, gonna have to get rid of these meat eaters, and they're calling for taxing, high taxes on meat consumption.
So why is this important? You can see by this map that global meat consumption is characterized by a great discrepancy. This discrepancy is as follows. Developing countries eat only 26.6 kilograms per capita a year on average of global meat consumption. OECD consumes 71.4 and China 62 kilograms. Furthermore, the trend is also worrying, where the global herd size is trended to increase from 37 to 46% until 2050. This means that our current food systems are incompatible with the Paris Climate Accords and especially the goal of net zero emissions by 2050. So pricing these agricultural emissions is very important. 1/3 of all our global emissions are from our food systems, and this is also not distributed equally. This is mainly caused by animal proteins. As you see on this list is topped by beef, lamb, cheese, pig meat, and eggs, all animal proteins. And it's therefore no surprise that vegan diets are projected to have only half of the climate footprint as a meat lover's diet does. And furthermore, by pricing these products which emit so much greenhouse gas emissions, you also tackle a lot of other problems. Namely, freshwater withdrawals. Even though nuts are also high on this list, it is still led by cheese, beef, lamb, mutton, and other animal proteins. Secondly, deforestation. 41% of deforestation between 2005 and 2013 was caused by the pasture expansion for beef. Of this, majorly Brazilian beef and the Amazon deforestation. Furthermore, biodiversity loss. Of the 28,000 species threatened with extinction, agriculture threatens 24,000 of them. Furthermore, the global rate of species extinction today is higher than the average rate over the past 10 million years. And this is mainly due to the vast difference in land use between animal protein consumption as well as less animal protein consumption, as is shown here.
Aren't you tired of these people? Okay. Well, we all know what this is about. I will say that Gutierrez is right. There is no stopping. There is no stopping any of this because we need the people to come together. Okay, so I actually saw, which I just went, oh, here we go again. Are you kidding? Somebody, and I captured it. I now have a Trump bookmark file. And it was Trump is going to get us out of the Paris Climate Change Accord. I thought he did that. Didn't he do that? Yeah, he did it. 2016. Come on. Yeah. So now this is getting play again. Repeat. He didn't get us out of the Paris Accord. Our mayors, governors are implementing the Paris Climate Change Accord. And it's very easy to do a little bit of research to find that out. Mayors of cities and governors don't get to implement an international treaty without it being ratified by our Senate and then sent off to the president for a signature. Just because Trump said, and yeah, we're getting out of the Paris Climate Change Accord, they're words that his base loves to hear, but it didn't happen. He should have said, these mayors and governors do not get to implement an international treaty all over our country. But he didn't say that. Okay. So, yeah. Wind turbines, a weapon of war. When you want to control the land, the sea, food, and energy, yeah, this green energy is so destructive to whatever environment they're in, the wind, offshore. Well, who cares if it's actually beaching whales and beaching dolphins and killing off a huge swath of the ocean where other species live, but can't live because of the turbines that are going on.
Perhaps to go back to your, are these industrial wind turbines a weapon of stealth warfare? So during this whole report, I was just looking at it as we're talking about energy, but you are always talking about these maps of reality to understand what you're dealing with. And from this previous research on farmers and food, I realized that the pivotal way that they will get to a full control grid lockdown is that they need control over lands, they need control over food, and they need control over energy. And so suddenly, I had done all this research and I thought, well, what if I don't look at this as as something that supplies energy, but if you were looking for a weapon of war, this would be a perfect weapon because you get control over people's lands. You blow up basic infrastructure, the utilities. It's a weapon of economic warfare because the costs go through the roof for energy, for your businesses, for people.
You know, you kill a significant amount of farmland and fishing waters.
Yes. Oh, and this is one of the risks too. So people, but they went on land, they realized that it's an issue, and so the government is saying now, like, oh, we're going to put it in the sea, and people they kind of they like that idea because it's not in their backyard anymore.
So what you're saying is the banks are financing it because the government is essentially guaranteeing the cash flow.
Yes.
That is terrible.
And the government, so you know what their return on investment is that the calculation is not model?
Well, that's a negative return on investment.
No, but the government, they use a model that the wind farm is supposed to make. And they say a fair return on investment for a project like this is 12 to 15% return on investment.
But it's 12 to 15% with no risk if it's all government guaranteed.
Yes.
Okay, so it's basically a racket.
Yes. Very big racket.
Right, it's a very big racket.
Sorry, these companies that are engaged in green energy, solar farms, these wind turbines, that a whole lot of it fail, okay? The solar farms and the wind turbines. There were a lot of wind turbine, call them farms, off the coast of Massachusetts, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, and these companies are just collapsing. They're collapsing because they don't produce the kind of energy that they originally claimed they would. And there's a lot of these parts of the turbine that literally just fall apart. So that wind turbine farm off the coast of Massachusetts is collapsing. But so much of all of it, the solar farms, the wind turbines, subsidized pretty much like 100% by government. So this green energy thing is a scam, right? These companies don't have any risk. Governments, I have to wonder if they're just funneling money to have it laundered. And yeah, look out for the hammerhead worms in Missouri. Okay.
The Missouri Department of Conservation is warning residents to keep an eye out for an invasive worm. While the hammerhead worm may not have the same intimidating appearance as a hammerhead shark, the flatworm can be harmful. KRCG 13's Ryan Smith met with an invasive species expert to learn what could happen if the hammerhead worm population blooms.
The hammerhead worm was first reported in Springfield, Missouri in 2018. And last month, Missouri Department of Conservation officials took to Facebook to warn residents about the worm when one was spotted at the Lake of the Ozarks. The worms are native to Southeast Asia, Australia, and South America. At first glance, they may seem unremarkable except for the flat head. But Angela Sokolowski, an invasive species coordinator with the Missouri Department of Conservation, says the worms have the potential to wreak havoc on the agricultural ecosystem in the Show Me State.
They're going to prey on our earthworms, which those earthworms play a role in conditioning our soil. And so if these hammerhead worms start to predate on our earthworms and change their populations, it could change soil, which could alter everything that grows in the soil.
It's unclear exactly how the worms got to Missouri. Sokolowski says more than likely they were unintentional passengers.
riding in soil that came with plants that we imported for horticultural use. So landscaping plants or plants for some sort of agricultural use that came with potted soil material, and these worms just happen to be in the soil.
And they prey on the earthworms that is needed for the soil. They actually make soil richer. When I hear these kinds of things, I do think, I wonder if these hammerhead worms were brought in intentionally, to destroy more farms. I do. Am I paranoid? Or is it that I've been lied to way too much by our government that I don't trust them at all? And yeah, cars are still flying into homes. Huh.
Frank, good morning. It is so incredible how this car ended up inside the house. Now, we're here in the neighborhood, so just take a look behind me here. You can see the car, it broke through the fence right behind us, went partially into the wash. You can see some of the skid marks there on the concrete, and the driver must have been going pretty fast because the car had enough speed to then catapult into the house. Now, this happened around 12:30 this morning. Chino Fire responded to this area, the 6,000 block of Medford Court. When units arrived, they found the vehicle, a Ford Mustang, that crashed through a fence and into the riverbed and landed on the second floor balcony of a backyard of a house here. Now, the driver was allegedly going very fast when this happened. According to the homeowner, she says it sounded like an airplane coming through. We're told 4 people were inside the car and all 4 were taken to the hospital for injuries.
It's almost, when you look at this, it's like, how the hell did that car come from a road, crash through a fence gate into a riverbed, skid marks here, and then flies into the home? Doesn't that almost seem a wee bit impossible? Okay. Talk about fast. Really fast. Oh, I was just set up. I was going to listen to this video. So yeah, now, what a time we're living. It's a little disconcerting. It's a little unnerving. It's a little, how do you plan? What do you do? I had the opportunity to rent my own place in Wyoming. I'm just going to hit every state, but, and I realized it was too expensive, and it was in even a more rural, or should I say, it's more to access, shopping. It's very far, far away. And there's a lot of considerations now, for me in terms of the best place for me to live is close to an area where I can access stores by foot should my car give out. And that wasn't possible in Wyoming. But I was also, it's like, okay, so we've got so much going on, and I don't know what's going to be happening. The other thing is that I don't have anything anymore, no furnishing. I don't have a fork. I have nothing. So I was thinking the only thing that I'd be able to do is online trying to get what I need. But there's so much going on. And when you know that there's an awful lot going on, you have to think about, well, in these very, very small towns, as it is, they're destroying a lot of the small towns, the services of the small towns. And even here where I am, I've come across, trying to get something on Amazon, and it reads, "We don't deliver to that area." So, there's, okay, so it feels as if, and I've said this for years, reading that 1969 New World Order Insider, what Dr. Day said, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, I apologize, but I don't want to go into it, but no security. When he was in 1969 putting it out to the audience, what was going to be happening to the United States in the coming years, and mentioned pretty much everything that we're living today. No security. You're not going to be able to rely on anything. You're not going to be able to, what you could access today, you might not be able to access tomorrow. So those who, don't need to move, those who are still living, those of you still living in your homes and the familiar area, trust me, you have 1, 2, 3 steps up from those who don't. It's there's a lot going on, and you got to tie in everything because it's all connected. But these people who are oh so upset about Trump winning, and then you have the secret meetings in the Pentagon and people claiming that there's going to be a national emergency declaration coming up soon. And you're like, okay, whoa, there's too much. And how do you deal with it? But when I listen to people, and I don't see it, our problem as just government officials, mainstream media lying. Ordinary people, how they're behaving in the world, they're a big problem, mighty big. And when you hear adults treating children the way they do, or these leftists who are bona fide, they have issues that sure do need some focus and healing. But when you have a population that no, we're not going there, that means that craziness just continues. I don't like living in a crazy society, but this is what we have. So here in the schools, these are supposed to be the powers of example for children, to emulate. You respect your teacher, you might be inspired. Well, all of that's gone. It's just gone. These teachers, they need to be fired for sure, and I understand, that yes, there is that product in 2020 that, has changed behaviors of some, but we've not really been the kind of people that we have claimed we are, even prior to the internet, prior to these new products, prior to all of the poisons. And when you're living a relatively comfortable, privileged life, and I don't mean privileged in the woke term, you're not going to see a lot of the crazy behaviors. It's when people are stressed and scared that these behaviors come out. So I don't know if you saw this, but it's pretty amazing.
An Inland Empire teacher may face disciplinary action over his reaction to the presidential election, specifically to one of his students wearing a Trump hat the day after the election.
I'm pissed. People voted for freaking rapists. I'm pissed off. Turn it off and go back to your freaking seat now. Go. Take the. Can you send security up? Please, a boy who has a Trump hat on, and I'm not going to tolerate it today. Bye-bye. I have a daughter. I have 3 nieces. He raped them, and it's people are voting for him. The Christians are voting for him. Bunch of losers. I don't care. Fire the hell out of me. I'm fighting for my daughter, my nieces, their rights.
If this teacher unfortunately has to be the example of what not to do, we need to move forward and address this behavior.
A rapist, draft dodging. Why would he win? Why did he win?
An impassioned speech the day after the presidential election caught on camera at Valley View High School in Moreno Valley, now going viral on social media and under investigation by the school district.
Can you end up in a concentration camp in your lifetime? Yes. Can you end up with no human rights? Yes. Will it happen to you? Most likely not. But has Donald Trump quoted Hitler? Yes. Does he embody some of Hitler's ideas? Yes. I know a lot of Latino men on this campus, adults and students, that love Donald Trump. And he's called their mothers rapists. He's called their fathers rapists. He's called them criminals. He called them the poison in the blood of our country. Is our country racist? Yes. Is our country patriarchal? Can we change it? Maybe.
Students say they are planning a walkout at the school on Tuesday in support of the teacher. More than 1,000 people have signed a change.org petition urging the district to return him to Valley View High. The district says the teacher will remain on administrative leave pending the outcome of its review.
A Pocatello teacher is under investigation after controversial comments she made on social media following President Trump's re-election. In one post, she wished an unwanted pregnancy in the individual's life, while also criticizing his appearance and making other personal attacks.
Rules at Beverly Hills High School after a group of pro-Trump students celebrated on campus. This TikTok video showing the group of mostly boys with Trump flags and MAGA hats. School leaders say they kept an eye on things and stepped in when things got out of hand. School leaders say they are now restricting students from gathering in order to keep all students safe. They say students can still express themselves in an orderly manner.
Dozens of Spartans walked out of class this afternoon. They say lives are on the line under Trump's presidency. They also say his campaign is fascistic and spews violent rhetoric. Event organizers say they felt disturbed when they heard that Trump won. They said the importance of the rally is to highlight community and a push against fascism. They believe Trump's stance on immigration will make many people suffer.
He's like really anti-immigration. He's anti-Arab. You know, he is anti quite literally almost anybody that isn't a white cisgendered higher income man. Not personally, but somebody yesterday had actually shared that they were walking by and a group of people just like shouted a racist slur at them.
All right, so I do play some of these quite often. It's very hard to understand how these people, well, I understand propaganda. Okay, the indoctrinated brain, mind. But they see the Democrats as what? They don't see how dictatorial, authoritarian, batshit crazy. But so Biden, you're okay with, and he's not you know, he's just a man of such great moral stature. um, it is so, all you have to do is try to take a clear, objective look at both parties. You will see batshit crazy on the left, but how is it that these people are, it just blows my mind. All the Supreme Court did with Roe v. Wade was what it should have done, is hand it back to the states. You can still get an abortion in, I believe, every state. And Trump has said clearly that he's not going to be banning abortion. But they feel that what the Supreme Court did was ban abortions. But that's not what happened. So that's what we've been dealing with for at least a decade. Just trying to set the stage right, trying to set things right. You can read the opinion of the Supreme Court. You can read legislation. You know, it's kind of like what they do. In Florida, did they call it the anti-gay bill or something like that? When it wasn't that at all, when they came out with legislation and were doing away with the curriculum, not DEI. Oh God, I can't even remember. But they then just come out and say that it's, and people believe that DeSantis and the legislators are so anti-gay that all gays should stay away from Florida. There's a lot of gay people in Florida. Yeah, especially Miami. Okay. Why? How is it that people are believing what is not factually true? And then when you try to set them right, they won't believe it. This is so bizarre to me. I understand, you know, the KGB, ex-KGB, can't remember his name off the top of my mind right now, but he talks about the demoralization of the American people, and they will not believe in facts and evidence. You know, they have their opinion and that's it. But it just seems so odd to me. Odd that you couldn't course correct in adult conversation with people. Yeah. All right. So, and it's just, here we have national emergency to be declared. I'll post the link to Dabu's video. I will say this, the anger that we are seeing, the crazy behavior, women who are shaving their heads, posting videos of them shaving their heads, that is crazy. And did you hear, I haven't seen anything, but I did hear from a subscriber that a man killed his entire family and himself because of Trump winning. Anybody see anything like that? Frankly, it's easy for me to believe considering everything that I've been seeing, but we still have mainstream media stoking the flames. The racism, the misogyny, Americans hate women. It's still crazy. It seems a little quieter than 2020 and 2016, but it's still out there. And people, yeah, going after one another instead of who the real enemy is. Well, don't you want to course correct that? But there is such hatred, especially coming from the Democrats, that I could foresee anything taking place. They also seem to be setting the stage for a possible coup January 6th, not qualifying Trump as president, using the 14th Amendment, claiming that because he's an insurrectionist, that he can't be president. And then we hear, now, of course, the government, all of these agencies are doing things that leave questions in people's minds, like, why are you doing this? Like, why would you have secret meetings on possible emergency situations? Why does it have to be secret? And then it's a leak from someone. It's like FEMA setting up, these camps where they're not disclosing any information. They're not helping people in Western North Carolina, but boy, they seem to have not just one and definitely two, but maybe more camps for personnel that we don't even see in these areas. Okay, so I don't know, do they see this kind of stuff? It doesn't scare me like I'm so scared. It does leave me unsettled sometimes. Like I'm not sure what the right move is. And I've seen a lot of people, these compilations, TikToks and whatever, and a lot of the young are also saying, don't know what's going on, can't make plans, also feeling either anxious or whatever about what's coming down the road. So this country has greatly changed, as we know. And the changes are not good. And more are coming. Just because Trump won the presidency doesn't mean that everything is just fine and dandy.
What's up, guys? D7 back at you. This time, we've got talk of a national emergency that's about to be declared. And this is going to have everything to do with Trump making moves here. If you look at CNN or any of these other outlets, they're talking about secret meetings that just went down between the Pentagon that got leaked out, and they're talking about what they're going to do here with this surge of migrants. And the Biden administration is openly stating that they're preparing a wave, a huge surge of migrants to come in before Trump takes office. Now, Trump is saying that out of his top 5 things he's going to do on day one, 2 of them have to do with the border. One is immigration. Number 2 is the wall. So these are key things he's rolling out immediately. And then we've got the situation going.
I'm sorry. I just have to interject Sorry for the interruption, Dabu, but the wall. Okay. Repeat. The wall might slow things down, but it does not keep the immigrants, as we've seen. They go over, or, oh, somebody left the gate unlocked. Let's just push it through. You've got the cartel that use very powerful saws and literally just cut their way, through. So, but we do have technology that could very easily keep everybody out. Yeah, that invisible barrier of the 5G fence. All right, but we're going to spend a tremendous amount of money on a wall again. Come on. Now, this surge that he's talking about, thousands coming across the border again. There are a lot of people who are very upset about Trump talking about the deportation. Of course, you got the disinformation going. He deporting and separating families. And his pick for the border czar has said, no, we're not going to be separating families. We can deport them together. But the deportation, you have to understand that we have about 40 million illegal migrants in our country. It is going to be, if this actually comes about and they do this deportation quickly, it is going to be, very messy. And a whole lot are going to become violent. So it's a powder keg with an awful lot of these agendas that we've got going. And because we didn't hold anybody accountable before, we weren't screaming before, everything got worse. The numbers continued to increase. And don't think that deportation is just going to happen and it's going to be easy. It could be a real fight. Like activate cells of those military age illegal migrants. Activation. We could be looking at, there's not going to be a civil war because the idea of a civil war suggests that it's going to be organized. Like, you had North versus South, or you can't, everything is too chaotic already. So, and in our country, it's very hard to determine who's migrant and who's not, because melting pot, we've got an awful lot of people from other countries, okay? And it's not going to be red versus blue. It's just going to be violent chaos certainly for the cities, but it's also going to extend itself out there. These military age men, illegal migrants, are all over the country in rural areas, not just cities. And while I would love for everything to just go, let us just get back to a time when we did have Americans who could critically think and weren't so unhealthy. Let's just get back to some state of normalcy. And I use that term kind of loosely, but so that we can begin to solve some of these problems. But if you don't go to the root of the problem, you ain't going to be solving anything. Yeah, and for decades and decades, pretty much my entire adult life, I have seen and I have said, we don't solve, we put Band-Aids on the problems in this country. We never get to the root. We just put Band-Aids on it. Well, eventually, those Band-Aids, they fall off. The scab opens up. And now we've just got scabs all over our body, open scabs. So here, back to Dabu.
Down up in Michigan, where you have FEMA staging massive amounts of equipment up there in an area near the border. So this hasn't just been a southern border thing, although the southern border has caught most of the attention. We have had tons of illegals coming across the northern border.
Yeah.
I have people emailing me telling me that on their property they have the IDs of these people, that once they cross into the United States, they're ditching their IDs and they're finding them all over the place, and have been. Tons coming across that way. So does it have something to do with sealing up the northern area? Why would FEMA stage equipment, 350 loads worth of equipment up there for nothing? They usually only do this if they know a hurricane's coming through or something like that. That's why you...
Okay, FEMA apparently has put on their website, and Detroit News, I think it's called, also did an article just saying that that FEMA wasn't really going to be doing much at this airport. But if they had to, they would. You can't believe FEMA, right? Okay, so the township got notice from FEMA that they were going to be staging, bringing in 350 semi-trailers, supplies and everything. Why would they tell the town that they're going to do that? And then when an awful lot of people start talking about it and questioning it, that's when FEMA says, well, no. There was a possibility, but we don't plan on anything. It just, something's off. And no, I have a hard time believing anything from government.
Stage equipment when you know something's going to go down. So that's why everyone's asking questions like, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? Well, there's a huge national emergency that's going to be launched here by Trump, apparently on day one, dealing with this whole thing. So is some
Trump is the one who's going to be calling a national emergency, declaring a national emergency on day one. Has anybody else heard anything like that? Because I haven't. So that's a little surprising. But wow, already the Democrats have set the stage. The propaganda, it's cemented into an awful lot on the left. They believing that Trump, is a dictator. Well, he is, but so are the Democrats. Okay. So when he begins to declare, if he does, national emergency, deporting all of these people, what's the left going to do with all of this? You think there might be riots? A whole lot of them? And then what happens? Martial law. Okay. So also, JWTV is FEMA hiring for civil unrest. The link is in the chat. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but JWTV has captured a couple of job listings for FEMA and for security officers armed. And the listing and the description of the position does sound a little aggressive in terms of what FEMA is looking for. But what amazes me I don't know how many, they usually state how many positions are open. So, but what they are asking of these security officers, Asheville, North Carolina, only paying $21 an hour? Really? Okay. So that FEMA is hiring a security officer, that doesn't surprise me. The description doesn't necessarily surprise me. Where they are setting up camp, I think that's what is really very important. So you can watch this JWTV's video on that. And our world is over. Social media is killing you. The world is changing. A whole lot of young recognize that things aren't what they should be. And I've kept this open only because, what they're saying is absolutely true. And I'm so sorry we left this world to them. It is not okay. And we have, okay. This is also, to me, it's yet another piece of evidence that humanity is gone. In the early 80s, there was a huge flood of people going to social work school. And then suddenly you had a flood of social workers on the market. Everybody was putting up a sign as a psychotherapist, and was why? And that was also an indication that our population was not well. Most social workers are not well, but there were a lot of changes that took place in the 80s. And now, because there is a loneliness epidemic, there are professional cuddlers to social clubs, to co-housing, because we've lost connection with one another. So now you have to pay someone that will cuddle you, make you feel less lonely. I remember in therapy that, talking about the fact that here I am paying you to talk to you as I should be able to talk to a mother or a sister or a friend. See, that connection, the loss of connection has been going on for a long time in our country. Really? Okay, I'll just give you the link to this if you want to see it, but professional cuddlers. All right, well, that to me is indicative of our society that is truly mentally ill. And people do need, touch is very important, you know, that's a need, it's not a want. You know, we are social beings. And when people are finding it very difficult to connect with one another, it sets the stage for an awful lot of anxiety, depression, loneliness, physical illness. Here we are, right? So I'm going to post the link, but I'm going to play this tomorrow. And I thank Inspired the channel. Is his name Sean? I can't remember, but he's right on. And I want to thank him for posting and talking about a subject that a whole lot don't want to hear. The actual solution, getting to the root of the problem. And it's you, me, and everyone else. Yeah. We did not grow up in a healthy society, which means we're not healthy people. And it is absolutely true that society is a reflection of the family unit in its aggregate. Okay, we got a whole lot wrong. Whole lot wrong. And it's amazing to me that the human race filled with the two-legged still doesn't know how to live. Still doesn't know how to live life. So, trauma. Yeah. And a whole lot in our country are just traumatized human beings that have never healed that trauma and continue on. And when they get easily triggered, boom, out come their issues. Also, you know, look into shadow work. Whole lot of people. That has nothing to do with it. It has everything to do with it. Everything. So I have a lot of respect for, is it Sean of Inspired? Very important topic. This is where the problem, the root of the problem is. So, did I put the link in? I'm going to put it in again. We'll come back to that tomorrow. We've got an awful lot going on. You know, I've been capturing a lot of Trump appointments and what is taking place, and eventually I'll get to that. I realize that I do have to organize my crime/migrant file, because you need to know that where things are now, if you want to think about a week from now, a month from now, January 6th, I'll organize that as well. So, yeah, a whole lot of people are in need. Buy some extra food for the food banks. Pick up an extra bag of pet food for the animal shelters. If you can foster. Animal shelters are really all over the country. They're so filled. So live honestly and speak honestly. And if you haven't done any work on yourself, you never did any self-reflection, self-examination, ask yourself, what does it mean to live honestly and speak honestly? Do I even know what that means? And that note, thank you for showing up. Do hope to see you tomorrow. Be safe. Good night. Good luck. Ciao, guys.